Nebulous presents Quantum Stereo Chronicles, Audiobook 5, Chapter 5, A Star Called Imbrachi. In the following year that rolled by, there had been much progress in the field of technology as the people caught on to new science. A large supercollider was being built in the sovereignty of Mycanda on the other side of the world, and it would be producing antimatter at a fairly good rate, as one might expect. Deena the Headstrong had seen the attitude that the Xandorians now had, in which they were more relaxed about the thought of other cultures in the galaxy. That was not the case in other parts of the world, though. With hair the color of fire, Deena Cologne had grown more from a laid-back, high-on-life sea mariner with a dream to being fully engaged in her new line of work in the city. Not only was she still crunching numbers when she could, she was also brushing up about naval history and how the great commanders of years past fared in diplomacy and combat. She also pursued old books of Xandorian history and the history of mankind in general to get a much more broader picture of the grand scheme of things, for she knew that knowledge is power. Her reckless stunt had made her new friends as well as new competitors. One of her new friends was Vera Orton of Orton. She was not an orc. Her youthful enthusiasm reminded Deena of herself when she was just about her age. The three shared an apartment in one of the high-rises downtown in Xandar City. Inside the apartment, nautical equipment, sextants, a large fake metal anchor on the wall that served as decorations, pictures of people she had dated over the years, but none of them had ever panned out. The carpet was light and shaggy blue, reminding Deena of the high seas. Her legs crossed on her desk chair in her personal office room. Papers in boxes, boxes in boxes, trinkets here and there, and every now and then a jewel lay waiting for somebody to step on it and complain. "Deena!" Vera cried. "They have made a breakthrough over at the... Ouch! What in blazes? One of your jewels. I've my own jewelry boxes full of these rocks. Listen, they are packing a crew for the next mission that'll go to the planet Aurora." Deena thought about it for a while. Project Aurora, that mission to have the first manned flight to our sister planet Aurora, 35 million miles out. If you are recollecting like I is, we sent the probe back there in 76, we did. Nothing but rock, really. There's no atmosphere there, Deena, the desk jockey, said. I see no reason why they should go head out there first. Shouldn't we head outward the solar system and not inner? We're down the pointies. Our old enemies are also building their own space riders to put flags of their own on all the planets before us. General is not gonna have none of it. Deena got up and went over to the kitchen to get something hot to drink. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they plant national flags? They say that they want to be the first to represent us in outer space. Vera Orton relayed the information. Deenas sighed as she went down to sit to an adjacent comfortable coral green couch. One of the days that I'm not here, seems like they drop bombshells like that, she huffed downward. Her heavy bosoms heaved with disbelief. Deenas, being a former Navy captain, felt, they should really put up that sort of news when I am present. I should really have to have a briefing with the general. No, Vera revealed. Not the general, Master Nebulous. He says we will take the Regal. Since you are not there today, he says first thing you show up in the morrow, he tell you. No, Deenas sterned. I am going up to drive up there to meet with him now. Vera reminded bull-headed Deenas. He's late. He's probably at the casinos, you know. Playing them one-armed bandits, whatnot. Slot machines, blinkers and buzzers. Deenas got up and set out for the night. The elevator seemed alien to her as she was used to a constantly moving surface through. Sometimes she could feel the skyscrapers swaying in the air. The night was cold. The two moons were set apart. It was the winter solstice of the calendar year 1993. Deenas reset her digital watch. She thought it was a pretty neat idea. A hackney dropped her off at the Gilded Falcon Casino, a top tourist attraction next to the Palace of Zendar. She got out, and in the front entrance, all displayed with priceless stones and metal, now worthless. They like to go anyways because sometimes old habits die hard. She saw Zach standing next to a craps table and met him. Good evening, Director. She got his attention. Mr. Nebulous picked up his assortedly colored gaming chips and walked over to shake hands with Deenas, who wore a purple waistcoat with a thick pair of dark, fluffy leggings. Captain, what an unexpected pleasure to see you here. Care to join me at a table? Deenas tersely spoke up. I beg your pardon, but I believe I heard you are going to go ahead with the Project Aurora, you know, the plan to send people to our sister planet. Zach, confused. Yes. Today, I have learned that one of our rival nations, the Combarians, have a plan to make a space vessel for themselves, so they can make for the planet to put a flag of their own there. General Goldbeck stressed urgency that we should plant our own there first. I agreed with his recommendation. Deenas revealed to Zach. And I also hear that you're planning to use the Regal as well, referring to Deenas' metal grey U-boat spaceship. Well, Zach said, the plans and orders were sent to your department 4 hours ago. If you had taken the time to take interest in your local affairs today. Why you? Deenas regained. Very well. I shall see you first thing in the morn. Cheerio. Zack had to carry the last word, as Deenas had already was several feet away into the elegantly dressed patrons going to and fro, and had gone off for the night. When she arrived home, she noticed at the foot of the door was a yellow envelope that was tucked to the inside of the bottom. It was the briefing documents they had sent her, but it had arrived late. In the morning, she headed off to the spaceport city near the coastlines. The drive was beautiful to say the least, as there were many wind turbines popping up like daisies here and there all along the rolling green hills and plains. She found her parking spot and walked up to her office. She didn't mind the walk at all, as it could shave a few pounds here and there. One officer saluted. "Captain?" She walked and returned the salute. "Ah, yes, Captain, over here, please." General Golbeck motioned for her to join him at his office. "General, sir," Deenas replied as she sat down on the general's warm, smiling request. The gruff old man had grown a little softer over the last year, but still maintained an aura of command. "Good morrow to you. How did you find your drive this morning?" "A little on the fast side now that I have a new automobile, if you know what I mean, top of the line. It only cost me $300. Deenas still couldn't believe the price of normal-sized combustibles now compared to the previous 2 years before. "Did you have a chance to view the dossiers?" Golbeck was referring to the envelope that was sent to her the night before. Deenas replied, "It was late when I received it. Perhaps the delivery check got held up somewhere." Strategic Golbeck smiled and steepled his forefingers. "Well, inside the documents, the mission is quite simple for you and your crew. Take this flag." He produced a flag in a brown wooden box. "And plant it over there on our planet sister Aurora. We do this before these other guys do so." He pointed to one of the small national flags that adorned the old general's office wall. It was the nation of Comber, who were allied with the rivals, Boldo. They were not at war anymore. Nonetheless, they had still underlying hate to those who had killed millions around the world at one time. Deenas cautioned, "General, my U-boat, the Regal, has not been fully tested with its new upgrades yet. We only welded in the copper panels around the air tanks but a fortnight ago. We are still making stress tests. She's not ready, I'm telling you." Golbeck sat slightly back on his leather black chair. He also took out a drawer from his drawer, another envelope, and produced a couple of black and white photos. They were satellite photos showing installations being built and what appeared to be a 300-foot ocean frigate being retrofitted with air tanks and other various machinery on its otherwise seaworthy hull. Deenas could tell that they were doing something similar to what they had done the year before. "You see, our enemy is building something that could be used against us. We need a Navy fleet of our own up there in orbit." "Does the Queen know?" "She is briefed daily. She feels it is necessary not to jump the gun and buy the course." General, the short-minded, spoke. "I continue to press for a navy when we do so. And when we do get that navy, I want you to be the captain of the best vessel that we can make." Deenas put the caution flag up in the air again. With all due respect, the Regal is not ready yet. Put in 3 days' work into it, and we launch within the week. That will be all, Captain. Goldbeck saluted. She slept in her office for 4 nights. She had her toiletries sent in. Most common men would have gone mad at the sounds of constant seagulls in the area. Her crew inspected the hull with instruments, and the technicians were busy, finishing off all the welding on the air tanks. They were installing copper panels to protect against cosmic rays. "Steady," a crane operator said, as the long-armed yellow machine slowly put in the supplies. "Hi, oranges and leeks. A sailor's diet," Deenas said. She looked over to one of the air tanks, the last of the exposed ones. "I told those buggers that we're not ready," she then told herself. Somebody had heard her amidst all the hustle and bustle of the shipyard. Cargo containers, ropes, wires, and in between many an able-bodied worker, all doing their jobs in the name of national pride. It was Mr. Gomer, the ever-large. "Deenas, Captain. I didn't worry if I was you. I have seen it and inspected all the cuts we have made onto the hull. We have repaired supplies, all filled up, and the last of the provisions are just being loaded up. Handar, Zandar, hygienic here. They push us here, there. We are not dead weight. We've been pushing these young lads and lasses to the full. They've been working non-stop, and they're itching for a break." Deenas moved out of the way for a crewman to come in to patch up the naked portion of the air tanks, the last of it. With all the major parts retrofitted with common copper plates, the Regal was ready to go. It was not only but a year ago that the vessel was only an underwater craft. It had been reshaped into the first patchwork spaceship the Zendarians had concocted up by using the formulas given to them. All this stuff aside, we should still have to put on our suits at all times once we're up there. Nobleman Gomer, the unmoving, said. "That may be so. Oh, here comes the General." The two stopped their conversation to see what the General had to say. "Captain, Lieutenant, Her Majesty sends her highest regards to your mission here. The whole world is going to expect nothing less than success on our part. My highest compliments to you and your entire crew for working round the clock. There will be much deserved rest after this is completed." He moved closer. "I want you to test the S-Day systems once you get to a reasonable distance to the target." Paranoid Goldbeck gave the red-headed captain an envelope and told it to open it once they were halfway to the planet Aurora. "Once you get up there, open this halfway. You are clear to view this top-secret stuff, you know." Deenas anticipated what he meant. "I have had my brushes with death, but I still see no reason why we need to install weapons on the first starship man has ever made." Goldbeck tried to spin it as best he could. "Think of it as an asteroid defense system, if it'll ease your conscience." "Hardly," Deenas coldly remarked. "Though I suppose it is a good idea to carry some punch." She made a fist and shook it in the air. "Deenas, Captain, all personnel on board and ready to go, and we are writing your command. Mr. Gomer saluted to the two as soon as he read a clipboard that was passed on to him by one of the crew personnel on site. Break your leg, Captain. Golbeck stomped on a wooden crate. The captain and her best friend boarded the spaceboat, and Gomer sealed the hatch behind them. He turned the metal knob, and the air began to pressurize and circulate all around the inner hull of the craft. The crew of 7 operated the hodgepodge spaceship, all fitted with antennae and radio dishes. It had been fitted with retractable landing gear that could make it land with ease in airports all around the world. Once Deenas stood in command position, she ordered for the ship to turn at 20% output flow. Down the pipes the order was heard and relayed. Switchboards were checked and its color-coded switches were being flipped here and there. Once the U-boat began to make a low rumbling noise and it rose up ever so slightly upward like a wayward dirigible, she was displacing 14,000 tons and still rising like a stray bubble in the sky. Most commercial jetliners have been idle for quite some time now. The Regal drifted silently into the dark void of space. She had left the atmosphere world of Zendar and was now on her way to her sister planet that orbited closer to the sun. Halfway through the point was reached between Zendar and her sister world was reached, Deenas went to her quarters, opened the envelopes. Inside were containing the codes to activate the Class 3 laser gun they had installed where the old torpedo slot used to be. 2 trained officers had keys along with hers in order to turn on the machine that needs to use it. And then after that, the gunner, which is me, will test fire onto the surface 1 pop shot, Deenas briefed her crew on board. All of them wore slightly bulky eggshell white spacesuits with small tanks with about 1 hour's worth of air each. How's our pressure on board? Gomer requested from the hull's officer. All readings normal. Oxygen at 92%, said one officer. A deckhand in the aft section, keeping an eye on the magnetic coils that powered the AG machine, anti-gravity induction coils, looked out the porthole from that section and he could see the crescent shape of the world aurorae. It was growing larger now. In the main bridge, air pipes, wires, gauges, all lined up in the hull. Lit switches hand monitored by technicians. Deenas asked for the scopes officer, Mrs. Orkton, to check the distance. Vera, with her thick Orkton accent, spoke. We are at 5,000 miles from the planet. She kept her eyes in the scope at both hands on the handles on the side. Captain, I can see the small rocky debris now. A small ring of rocky stellar debris orbited the rocky inner world. Small bits of rock left over from the creation of the solar system. The world itself was found to contain a large iron core, highly magnetized, and the air had been boiled by the closeness of the sun over the eons. The crew stepped here and there, every now and then a clanging of glass bubble helmets. At the behest of the upper command, they were told to wear the spacesuits at all times. Gomer was about to check the aft section. He instructed the motor crew to turn off the heaters as the temperature was steadily rising. Moments later, a big bang exploded, sending him flying back to the fore. Bang! The explosion happened in the aft. The impact and sudden rush of air escaping closed a large metal door that connected to the engine room shut. Report! Deenas held on to a metal hold. We've lost pressure in the aft section. No response from crewmen Niles and Pollock. Bridge to engine room. Bridge to engine room. Do you respond? There was nothing. Deenas swore. Damn! What is the status of the generator? An engineer who was assigned to mechanical spoke. I have sealed the doors to the chamber, Captain. According to these readings, we have lost one of the magnetic coils. He looked out and saw that they were spinning oddly towards the planet. The rocky debris field was in proximity, and the Regal found herself orbiting and listing into orbit onto the rocky world's surface. Captain, I cannot believe it, but we're slowing down. We're assuming a steady orbit around the world. The compass was going haywire. Of course. Deenas came to a revelation. Our copper plates. They must have attracted the magnetic pull of the planet. Took us as one of our own. Mr. Gomer, how are you? Gomer patched through from the communications in their spacesuits. It takes a little bit more than a space explosion to get rid of me. Outside the U-boat gently coasted onto the surface of a large asteroid that was orbiting and became wedged in between two high juts of rock. Great, we are now stuck 35 million miles out. Our motor masters are dead, and Gomer has got his senses knocked out. He thinks he's invincible now, Deenas said to herself. She stood up and asked for the radio. Send for help. Port City is patched into our computers. Whatever struck us, they know and should have seen it as well as on their monitors. One officer spoke out. Vera looked terror as she relayed information through the horn. Hang on a bit, I'm getting something on the horn. She turned up the volume. It was Port City Control. This is Control. We have experienced cabin pressure failure at aft section engine room. Is that confirmed? Deenas responded. She took the radio piece and spoke into it. That is a positive. We've lost Yale and Pollock. What do your instruments read? Over. Vera said, Time will take a few minutes for them to get back to us. She looked out into the black distance of space. How long till we have until our air runs out? One officer looked at the gauge and noticed one of the air tanks was not registering. He tapped it and the needle did not change. It was empty. Captain, we have lost one OU tank. That puts us about 10 hours before we run out of air. Then after that, we have about 1 hour each in our portable tanks. She grimaced. Deenas was running out of options. Her mind raced through all that she could remember about space forces and counteractive G environments. She told the remaining crew members, Vera, Gomer, Mr. Toe, and Mr. Nabob. Yes, I think we have to do something here. She explained that they would have to put on extra tanks and perform an extra vehicular excursion. Now, when you say excursion, do you mean that we're going to go outside the boat? Deenas explained. Yes, The plan is 4 of us will have to go down to the stand to do this. She showed the pictures of the air tanks on the sides. Our mission is to manually release these 4 tanks here. There are release valves at the bottom of the tanks that we put there for refueling. We will have to break the valves open using our hatchets. Gomer spoke. I fixed it myself. They'll be in there very, very solid, all right. Right. All of us will have to do it at the same time, or it will not work. And if it doesn't work, Mr. Toll was afraid of the answer. Then we have about 2 hours of air before we meet our maker. Gomer said it out flatly. End of chapter.